Glenn Beck, you brag that you got a $50 million contract. And I think that's great for you. Wonderful. And I want to be clear here. I'm not attacking you because you're well known on TV and because you have a big paycheck. You are a very talented radio host. I don't know how you do 3 hours a day and then go get ready for that big TV show. I mean, I know it must be exhausting. And you pull it off very well, and I admire your talent. But being somewhat of a novice of history, I also admire the talent of Benedict Arnold, one of our better generals in the Revolutionary War. And I don't attack people lightly. Even though I disagree with a lot of things Michael Savage does, I defend his right to say it. And when he was getting censored, I stood up for him. When Van Jones was calling for your firing, Glenn, I stood up for you. When people have tried to pull down Rush Limbaugh as a symbol of free speech and talk radio, I've defended Limbaugh. Even though I know he's a drug-addled, arrogant deceiver who has led conservatives astray. Because I understand the part you're playing. You're meant to discredit true conservatism and libertarianism. And you're meant to be a ringer in this fight as the global corporate state socializes the wealth in this country so they can more easily extract it offshore. But Glenn, I want to talk directly to you right now. And I want to tell you that history is what matters. And being on the right side of history is what is important. And you don't want your grandchildren and great-grandchildren to look back on you as a Benedict Arnold, as a traitor. You don't want people to look back on you as a media whore. You don't want people to look back on what you're doing now as being loyal opposition. I understand you were hired because you're a slick presenter. I understand you were hired because of your slick dual message to discredit and polarize the conservative movement for the left, to dress up in lederhosen and clearly fake cry and then admit you're fake crying, to further convince the left that the right is insane. But at the same time, you are there to lead conservatives and libertarians and people that were waking up from my show and waking up to the full global system, the world government, the New World Order. You're meant to talk about just enough of that to get them to then feel like their revolutionary energies against this tyranny are being expressed, so they spend their time and energy on your 9/12 project instead of really going out and taking this country back. Your whole 9/12 project is about remembering 9/12 and remembering the police state and how good the Patriot Act is and remembering how giving up our liberties is good and remembering how good it was to believe the lie that Saddam had WMDs and yellow cake. It's about following that neocon agenda, which Obama is continuing. You know, Glenn Beck attacks Obama and says he's pulling our troops out of the Middle East. He wants al-Qaeda to attack us, giving him left cover. The truth is, Obama has taken 50,000 troops out of Iraq and moved them to Afghanistan, and then moved 50,000 plus more contractors into Iraq, boosting the total number of troops. So when you come out and call him a communist, he's not a communist. He got 4 times the money John McCain did. Because John McCain wasn't the heir apparent. He wasn't the corporate, slick Harvard person. And I'm not saying vote for John McCain. I'm saying we didn't really have a choice. The media hyped Coca-Cola president. The media president was Barack H. Obama. And so he was the heir apparent. He is the corporate president. But see, Glenn Beck is meant to make conservatives not shift out of the left-right paradigm. He's meant to keep them in that paradigm and to see Obama as this big leftist, when really he's just a statist looting us for offshore banks. $23.7 trillion has been stolen by the bipartisan group under Bush and Obama to offshore banks. They're using that money to come in and buy up our economy and the smaller banks and insurance companies and credit unions. The new reform plan of Obama will give total dictatorial power to a new private board of banks over every part of our economy, from a hot dog stand to a hair salon to a factory to a car dealership. And the truth is, a bipartisan group wants that power. Glenn Beck, we played the clip earlier of you saying we've got to support the banker bailout. Rush Limbaugh wasn't supporting it. Pat Buchanan wasn't supporting it. Lou Dobbs wasn't supporting it. Say what you want about them. 1,000 to 1 phone calls into Congress against that banker bailout. The polls, 99+% against it. But you went on TV and supported it. And I predict you're going to end up, when they plunge the economy again in the next year, you're going to end up supporting Obama on the new Bank of the World, the new regulatory system over our currency, over the interest rates, and over our tax rates. I saw you read from the MIAC report. I'd seen earlier versions a year and a half ago. The DHS report. I said on air before that stuff was even public, I said he's reading from federal reports when he says Ron Paul wants to bomb us with a money bomb. He's dangerous. His followers want to blow things up. Knowing full well money bomb meant a big effect in the info war, a term I coined. You knew what that meant. When Ron Paul had a real chance of winning, and when the media did hit pieces on him, you waded in with the most vicious attacks. You are controlled opposition, and you're to ensure those Tea Parties are under control. Those Tea Parties started with 9/11 Truth 6 years ago in Boston, and then the current political type started 2 years ago in Austin, Texas, against the banker takeover. Almost 2 years ago. A year and 9 months ago. That happened with 9/11 Truth and We Are Change in Austin. And he came in and he co-opted that entire thing. Glenn Beck, I'm here to tell you, you're not fulfilled. I look in your eyes. You're not a happy person. Because I know you were poor and ate ramen noodle and were an alcoholic and lived in a cockroach apartment like you tell people. And then now you got $50 million and $10 million from your book and all this. Great, man. But you even admit you almost died a year ago from an ailment. Really, wouldn't you rather at the end of your life, whenever that comes, next year or 30 years from now, be able to sit back and really know that you stood up for liberty and freedom? Isn't that more valuable than $50 million? I mean, once you got a few million, isn't that enough for you to be comfortable? But see, it's about the status, and it's about being a winner, and it's about being competitive, and it's about showing all those people that didn't believe in you that you are a success. I understand that. I understand that. I understand the road to the dark side, being overly competitive. When I was approached 10 years ago to sell out and be what you are today, the new Rush Limbaugh, but no private Federal Reserve, no New World Order was to be talked about, I was told you could be a star or be on this crusade that's going nowhere. I chose the crusade, and I thank God every day I did the right thing. Glenn, I know you signed a contract. I know the stuff's written for you on the teleprompter. I know this is a Pentagon psyop. I knew what you do with the concentration camps, right down to what fake camp you would show as a straw man. I know you. I study the people controlling you. And you are smart enough to know they plan on destroying you in the end. You're smart enough to know that they're going to build you up and then destroy you in the end. That's their plan. You're even a willing participant in it. Then they'll build you up again later. Glenn, think twice about what you're doing. Think twice about what you're a part of right now. I'm not asking you, because I know you can't go all the way, to be a real patriot like Judge Napolitano. That's why you keep him in the basement. He comes out once a month on your show. That's why he's on the internet. And then they use Brian on there to be the frothing neocon as the counterbalance. Judge Napolitano tells the truth. This banking takeover is a complete takeover of our whole economy. Why don't you have him on more? Why don't you at least not enthusiastically attack Ron Paul when the time comes? Because I know right now you're acting like your buddy, so you have everybody on your side so you can stab him in the back later. I know that's the game some big talk show hosts play with me. Wasn't born yesterday. But the issue here is just try to do whatever you can to redeem yourself, and don't be a Benedict Arnold in the end. We're going to write a more detailed letter to you showing all the bad things you've done, and then showing you these tens of millions of people that are counting on you. You are now the leader. And I know it's all a big joke. You see it as hurting and managing these people, but they've got their trust in you.